I stood at the edge of the ballroom, where the gold-trimmed mirrors didn't quite reflect me. Maybe they chose them that way, angled enough to show off the grandeur, but not the ghost in the corner. I paid for this place. The chandeliers? My wire transfer. The rose wall everyone took selfies in front of? Mine. And yet, here I was, no mention, no thanks. Just background noise to someone else's spotlight. Clayton Morrow took the mic like it was his birthright. His voice, polished and firm, filled the room. "Tonight, we honor Juliet," he said. "The daughter who never asked for anything but gave us everything." Applause roared. Juliet dabbed her eye, a performance well rehearsed. He continued, "It was her savings that made this dream a reality." I stopped clapping. Juliet smiled, radiating wholesomeness, her pearl dress shimmering beneath the lights I rented. She glanced my way for half a second, like I was the photographer who got too close. Evelyn, always the orchestrator, made her move. "Aurelia," she called sweetly from the stage, "why don't you join us for a quick photo?" Translation, "Get up here, so we can look like a family." I stepped forward. My heels were sinking slightly into the plush carpet. It felt like quicksand. I reached the stage, posed for 3 clicks, then stepped down without a word. I smiled so I wouldn't scream. Near the bar, a woman I didn't recognize leaned over. "Excuse me," she said gently, "could you get us more napkins?" I blinked. "I'm not staff," I replied. "Oh." Her cheeks flushed. "Sorry, I thought." "I'm the sister," I said, and walked away before her apology could land. The sting lingered, not because she was wrong, but because she was accidentally right. My mind flickered through memories, Christmas dinners where my gifts didn't arrive, birthdays where Juliet's name topped the cake I bought, college acceptances where my full ride was never mentioned, but Juliet's internship made headlines in the family group chat. Evelyn sidled next to me, smile tight, voice dripping in charm. "Sisters are made to sacrifice," she whispered. "You remember that, don't you?" I didn't answer. I cataloged it. "They dress it in silk and sugar, but it still cuts." A buzz in my clutch pulled me back. It was Noah Reed, colleague, friend, maybe the last neutral observer I had left. "Noah, this feels staged. You okay?" My fingers hovered. Me, unsent, I built everything they're toasting to. I looked across the room. The champagne tower gleamed, a fragile monument. Any sudden movement and the whole thing could shatter. I drifted past it to the prep area where Juliet's train had snagged earlier. Evelyn stood nearby rehearsing a line, "We're just so proud of Aurelia's generosity. She's practically a patron of the arts." I wasn't a patron. I was the paycheck. I caught my reflection in a tray. Lipstick flawless, hair sculpted, but hollow behind the eyes. I don't belong here, I thought. Not like this. Back in the ballroom, I replayed every word of Clayton's speech, dissecting the phrasing. The surgical omission of my name. The clever attribution of our savings. Juliet approached, arms outstretched. She hugged me too tightly, the kind of hug meant to pin you. "Thanks for everything," she whispered, tone airy. "You've always been more like staff than a sister." She laughed, but I didn't. Across the dance floor, a man stood alone near the exit, tall and sharp in a charcoal suit. Vincent Kane. He wasn't supposed to be here. He watched the room like he knew something the rest didn't. My phone buzzed again. "Unknown number, check your ownership." "Tonight." I stared at the screen. Had the real wedding. Not even started yet? Have you ever watched your own story get told? Without you in it? Tell me in the comments. Was there ever a time someone erased you from your own moment? The air outside bit sharper than I expected. Cold enough to wake me up, to scrape off the polite smile I'd been wearing like armor all night. I stepped into the garden behind the ballroom, away from the noise, the wine glasses clinking, the lies on stage disguised as toasts. I needed space to breathe, space where no one would ask me to pose for a picture I'd paid for. I reread the message. Check your ownership. Tonight. My thumb hovered over it. I stared until the words started warping. I thought about every contract I'd signed, every meeting I sat through with Clayton and Evelyn pretending to care. Every document I trusted them to file just for tax season. It was too coordinated. Too clean. They wouldn't dare, unless they already had. That's when I saw them. Under the pergola, Juliet and Evelyn in deep conversation. Their heads leaned close together, soft lighting washing them in a warm glow. I stepped closer, instinct moving faster than thought. I slipped behind one of the marble columns, listening. It'll look like a wedding gift, Evelyn whispered. But legally, it's clean. There's nothing she can contest after tonight. Juliet hesitated. Her voice, softer than usual, cracked a little. I don't want to steal it, Mom. It's not stealing, Evelyn cut her off. It's rebalancing. After everything you've given up. Clayton's voice joined. If she ever asks, we'll say it was her idea. We have that email chain from March. My stomach dropped. That email, they made me sign something quickly during a family meeting, said it was just a placeholder for taxes. I had no idea it triggered a full transfer. My hands began to shake. I pressed record on my phone. I'd been raised on their version of loyalty, keep quiet, give more, be thankful for crumbs. And I'd obeyed. Until now. I stared up at Juliet's veil swaying gently in the breeze. The veil I bought. The dress I paid for. The life they stole while smiling. I walked back inside. The ballroom felt warmer, louder, false. Evelyn was at the mic again. We wouldn't be here without one person's unwavering generosity, she announced. People turned. I stood near the back. My daughter, Aurelia. The true heart behind tonight. Applause. A wall of it. Juliet beamed like a bride should. Evelyn raised her glass. And me? I didn't move. They're applauding the murder of my legacy, I thought. And they don't even know it. Noah caught my eye across the room. He wasn't clapping. He was watching. Reading me like an open report. Vincent Kane stood still near the exit, expression unreadable. He hadn't left. I wondered why. She's the one who gave up the penthouse, right? Someone near me whispered. What a selfless sister, another added. I smiled. Tight. Controlled. Polite. Back in the dressing lounge, I locked the door behind me. My hands fumbled as I opened my secure file app. I scrolled through legal emails until I found it. There it was. A clause buried in legalese, if not contested by 11:59 p.m. on the 17th, the deed permanently transfers. Tonight. Of course. I called Leah Whitmore. She picked up immediately. If I say no, can we undo it? I asked. Only if you do it right now, she replied. And publicly. I stared at the mirror. Not just a penthouse. It was the first thing I'd bought alone. My name. My signature. My walls. My silence bought it. My ambition protected it. And now, they were scrubbing me out of my own history. I glanced at the text again. I knew who sent it. Derek Wilford. The only person who'd seen my contracts and flinched. He knew something was wrong. He didn't just walk away, he warned me. I opened my messages. Typed slowly. To Leah, be ready to go public tomorrow. What would you do if your own family tried to erase your name from your future? Comment below. Because I'm done letting them write my story. I didn't bother turning on the lights when I stepped into the penthouse. The city beyond the glass glowed enough to guide me, and anything brighter felt like a violation. I closed the door behind me and leaned against it for a second, still in the gown they'd all praised me for. The zipper pinched at my back like the price tag of a lie. One by one, I removed my earrings, necklace, bracelet, each piece clinking against the marble counter like tiny resignations. A ritual I hadn't planned, but needed. I didn't want them near me anymore. Not their gifts. Not their names. Not their weight. My phone buzzed, Noah again. Are you safe? I didn't answer. Not yet. I played the recording. Evelyn's voice, clipped and confident. Clayton's polished smugness. Juliet's guilt barely stitched together with obedience. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I cataloged every word. They built a house of lies, I thought, and called it family. I crossed to the bookshelf and reached behind it for the drawer hidden in the paneling. The one I had built into the wall before even moving in. It slid open with a soft click, revealing documents, receipts, and a file labeled Initial Deed, Full Ownership. Their signatures were there, sure. But the ink didn't matter anymore. Only leverage did. I hesitated. Then turned toward the hall closet and reached for something I hadn't touched in years, a wooden chest. It smelled like cedar and thyme. My grandmother's initials, Emmy, carved faintly into the lid. Inside, old photographs, yellowed property papers from the 60s, and a sealed envelope marked in familiar handwriting, sharp, slanted, for when they forget who you are. I sat on the floor, tore it open. Aurelia, it began. There will come a time when kindness is mistaken for weakness. When your name will be dressed in someone else's accomplishments. Don't let them. Truth doesn't destroy families, it reveals who never belonged in one. Marion Ellsworth had fought Clayton once too. He tried to rewrite her out of a family trust before I was even born. She won. I read the letter again, slower this time. She wasn't just warning me. She was preparing me. I snapped a photo of the letter and saved it in a new folder, Counter-Strike. It was almost midnight when I called Leah Whitmore on a secure line. She answered instantly, already anticipating. We have grounds, she said before I could speak. A strong case. No lawsuits yet, I said. Gather everything. Build airtight evidence. We might need a public nudge. Kane's name still holds weight. I don't need saving, I said, voice flat. I need amplification. By the time we ended the call, I had uploaded the recording, labeled the files, and backed them up twice. I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like a witness sharpening the blade of her own story. Tomorrow, I said aloud, they'll hear my silence louder than their applause. I stepped onto the balcony. Boston stretched out below me, a mosaic of ambition and arrogance. The skyline glittered against the river's black edge. beautiful, indifferent. Money isn't power, I whispered. Control is. I stood there for a while, then turned back inside. Opened my laptop. Began drafting a timeline, one entry at a time, media contacts, legal steps, release dates, contingencies. This wasn't panic. It was a playbook. On my desk sat the only framed photo I allowed, Marion, hair pinned high, eyes like mine, in front of the house she refused to lose. I nodded to it. I'd be the second woman in this family who refused to vanish politely. Noah's message came again. You okay? This time, I answered. Ask me tomorrow. I locked the chest. Filed the recording. Turned off every light, leaving only the city to glow through the windows. Then my phone lit up again. Unknown number. 2:17 a.m. He's already preparing tomorrow's announcement. I arrived late on purpose. The kind of late that makes people stare but can't be called rude. The ballroom had bloomed into its second act, Juliet's wedding reception, a garden of orchids and faux affection under crystal chandeliers. My heels clicked on the marble like a metronome counting down to detonation. Clayton stood at the front like a seasoned statesman, hands spread wide, voice thick with false warmth. Cameras rolled. Journalists scribbled. Socialites smiled with the sharpness of sharks. Evelyn, in silver sequins, clutched Juliet's hand as if motherly devotion were a performance art. I have an announcement, Clayton said, smiling too hard. As a symbol of unity, of trust and legacy, we are proud to gift Juliet the family penthouse. A place where love and honor live. Applause erupted. Juliet bowed her head, playing the demure bride, though I caught the glint in her eyes, she was savoring the win. I didn't clap. I didn't speak. I sipped my champagne and watched it all like I'd watched them rehearse Betrayal behind glass. The clapping hadn't died down before a voice cut through it. Low. Clear. Calm. Touch her assets again, and you'll lose yours. Head snapped toward the sound. Vincent Kane stepped forward from the edge of the crowd, tailored in navy, posture straight, expression unreadable. Silence was instant. Clayton's smile faltered. Evelyn's face froze mid-performance. Juliet's bouquet trembled slightly in her grip. Vincent moved like someone who didn't ask for permission. He handed a thick envelope to a journalist seated front row. The man opened it, eyebrows rising with each page, legal hold notices, deed copies, ownership verification, time-stamped recordings. My armor, now weaponized. No one moved. I didn't need to. I raised my glass, met Clayton's eyes, and whispered under my breath, now you know. Murmurs cracked through the ballroom like glass under pressure. Wait, wasn't it Juliet's? Did Aurelia give it away or was it stolen? A moment later, Leah Whitmore stepped beside me, crisp in a navy suit, her voice calm but loud enough for the nearest cameras. Ms. Morrow remains the sole legal owner. Any prior transfer attempts are under legal dispute and injunction. Noah recorded from the sidelines, discreet but precise. His presence was a silent show of support. Vincent remained back, watching but not interfering. I'm out, said a voice near the front. An investor in a charcoal suit stood abruptly. This wasn't part of the deal. He walked. Another followed. Then a third. Chairs scraped. Phones lit up. Live streams activated. Evelyn lunged toward the mic, smile still plastered but eyes frantic. This is simply a misunderstanding. A clerical oversight. Juliet looked pale, her champagne flute tipping just enough to spill. I finally spoke. Lies built in public don't last in private. Simple. Quiet. Enough. The press seized on it. Cameras pointed. Questions flew. Clayton tried to regain the floor, but the air had shifted. It no longer belonged to him. Evelyn hissed through her teeth as she passed me. "What have you done?" "Undone the mask," I replied, still holding my glass. Security, guided by Leah's quiet nod, began moving unauthorized press out. Order returned, but the atmosphere stayed fractured. Everyone knew something had happened, something no PR script could repair. Vincent offered me his arm. I looked at it, then him. "I've got this." He nodded once and stepped aside. I walked alone through the aisle they parted for me. Some avoided my eyes. Others watched like they were seeing me for the first time. As I neared the doors, I heard footsteps behind me. Juliet's voice, barely a whisper, ghosted over my shoulder. "You weren't supposed to fight back." I didn't turn around. The morning came too soon, though I hadn't slept. My phone lit the kitchen counter with breaking alerts. Penthouse scandal shakes moral legacy. Clips of Vincent's 9 words had gone viral, dissected on talk shows and re-edited with dramatic music. Touch her assets again, and you'll lose yours. A meme, a warning, a quote that didn't belong to me but had become my armor. Every outlet ran it differently, some sympathetic, some gleeful. Legal blogs published filings proving my ownership. Clayton's company name trended for all the wrong reasons. Evelyn released a statement crafted by publicists. "Our family stands united in love and respect." No one believed it. Comments poured in, united in greed, maybe. Juliet hadn't left her estate. Paparazzi camped at her gate. Derek was gone, just gone. The perfect couple, already cracking. I sat by the window, coffee in hand, robe wrapped loosely around me. I didn't smile, didn't sigh. The chaos outside didn't need my commentary. It was speaking for me. By noon, my mother stormed into the penthouse. The guards didn't even try to stop her. Her perfume arrived first, expensive, sharp, suffocating. "You ruined us," she hissed, voice frayed but still elegant enough to be dangerous. I didn't look up from my cup. "No, Mother. You did. You just called it love." She froze. Then the confession spilled, not out of guilt, but fear. "They're investigating your father. The SEC, the press, our accounts are frozen. He could lose everything. We could lose everything. So now it's we again?" Her hand trembled. "You can still help us. You can fix this. You know the people in that building. You know how to turn this narrative. You don't fix rot by repainting the walls." Evelyn's face cracked, the mask slipping for the first time. "You sound just like your grandmother," she whispered. I smiled faintly. Finally. She left without another word. By evening, Juliet appeared at my door, hair undone, eyes swollen. She didn't wait to be invited in. She just stood there, trembling. "I'm pregnant," she said, voice so thin I almost missed it. "It's Derek's." I didn't move. Didn't blink. "Does he know?" She shook her head. "He's gone. He left before the wedding. He knew about everything. About the deal. About Dad's company." Silence stretched between us. She started crying, the kind that wasn't pretty or performative. "I didn't want your home. I just wanted them to love me. I looked at her, seeing for the first time not a rival, but a child who had learned the same lesson I had. Love in our family came within voices. They never loved either of us, I said. They loved what we gave them. Her sobbing quieted. I went to my desk, signed a check, and handed it to her. For the baby. Not for forgiveness. She stared at it like it burned. Aurelia, Go, Juliet. She did. When the door clicked shut, I knew something permanent had ended, not just her denial, but the illusion of family itself. By nightfall, Leah had finalized the filings. Vincent handled the press. News outlets aired statements confirming the Penthouse's rightful owner. My name replaced theirs in every article. Clayton attempted a press conference, predictable, rehearsed. But before he could finish, protesters shouted over him, holding signs that read, "Justice for Aurelia." He froze. The cameras didn't. By midnight, the company's stock was in freefall. Investors demanded his resignation. Evelyn vanished from the mansion, escorted by security. No press. No closure. Just quiet exit, the kind people write sad biographies about later. I stood on my balcony, watching the skyline shimmer like glass ready to crack. For the first time, I didn't feel like fighting. Silence isn't weakness, I whispered. It's the moment before a verdict. No one knocked softly. He looked tired but relieved. Do you feel free now? I thought about it. Freedom doesn't feel like victory, I said. It feels like peace. He nodded, not asking for more. Below us, Boston kept humming, oblivious, alive. Families were eating, laughing, pretending. Somewhere, my name was trending. Somewhere, someone was debating whether I was ruthless or brave. Maybe both. As I turned back inside, my laptop pinged. A new email. No subject line. No signature. Just one line. You should see what your father left in the vault. The city had finally gone quiet. The headlines had faded, the scandal had become history, and for the first time in months, the hum outside my windows didn't sound like judgment. It sounded like breathing. The penthouse, my penthouse, was clean, sunlit, and still. Papers rested in neat stacks beside my chair, a calm contrast to the chaos they once represented. No more calls. No more statements. My parents hadn't reached out since the company's collapse, and I hadn't tried to find them. I wasn't angry anymore. Just done. The silence between us was louder than any argument could have been. Leah arrived just before sunset. She carried one final envelope, her expression soft, knowing. It's over, she said, placing it in front of me. He resigned this morning. Transferred all remaining claims. I took the pen, signing the document without hesitation. Not revenge, just closure. Power isn't taken, I said quietly. It's reclaimed. After she left, I sat by the window again. The skyline shimmered against the night, a reflection of a city that had forgotten how to whisper my name in scandal. I let the quiet stretch, heavy but comforting. That night, I opened the sealed box I'd been avoiding, Marion Ellsworth's handwriting across the lid. My grandmother's voice had outlived her, ink still sharp where her bones had long turned to dust. The letter inside was brittle but legible. You were born to build peace, it read, not inherit chaos. I smiled, tracing the loops of her words. Marion spoke of her own fight, the years she'd spent resisting the morrow's control, the price she paid for walking away. I left with nothing, she'd written, and found everything I'd forgotten to want. My throat tightened. The final line was both blessing and command. When they ask you to stay silent, answer with dignity, not rage. For the first time since it all began, I cried, not from grief, but release. I whispered into the quiet, I understand now. The letter went into a frame above my desk, right where the morning light would hit it first. A few days later, Vincent stopped by. He never stayed long, just enough to make his point. There's an opening, he said, sliding a brochure across the counter. A foundation supporting women facing financial coercion. They need a voice. Preferably one who's already survived the fire. I didn't win, I told him. He smiled faintly. You stopped losing. That's better. I agreed to help, under one condition, anonymity. My name had done enough talking for a lifetime. Noah visited with his camera, asking if I'd sit for a quiet interview, no drama, no edits. I agreed. His questions were simple. What does peace feel like? Like learning to breathe without permission, I said. He smiled. And revenge? Overrated. When the interview aired, my words spread faster than I expected. Sometimes, peace is louder than any revenge. People quoted it, shared it, argued about it. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The story was no longer mine, it belonged to anyone who'd ever been silenced and learned to speak without shouting. Weeks later, the first light of dawn spilled through my windows. I stood on the balcony, bare feet against the cold tile, wind tugging gently at my robe. The city stretched beneath me, same skyline, different heart. I deleted the last voicemail from my father without pressing play. Then, from the drawer, I pulled out the old property transfer copy. It crackled as I fed it into the flame of a single candle. The paper curled, blackened, and vanished. Leah called that morning. Are you free tonight? She asked, her tone lighter than usual. I smiled. For the first time, yes. Before leaving, I clasped the bracelet my grandmother had once worn, thin gold, engraved faintly with the word endure. I locked the door behind me. The framed letter caught a streak of sunlight, its ink glowing softly. The last word seemed almost alive. Begin again.